Well, hey folks, and welcome to episode 4 of Low-Lit. In this episode, we're going to go behind the scenes at the annual Hood River Fly-In hosted by the Western Antique Aircraft and Automobile Museum in Hood River, Oregon. Additionally, we're going to take you flying on a little evening formation photo shoot with a gaggle of rare and special Waco biplanes. And since I have spent a lot of time hanging out and volunteering at this museum, if you see an aircraft that you want to know more about, leave a comment in the down below, and we would be more than happy to tell you a little bit about the history of some of these amazing aircraft, because this museum it's too much to take in one day, but we'd be happy to share more about it and help promote this incredible place. So, enjoy the episode. And if you do enjoy the episode, please like and subscribe. All right, so out here at the WAAAM, we've got airplanes that we're reorganizing for the fly-in next month, actually later this month. So right now, we're trying to get to an airplane all the way back there by that door, the entrance into the museum. So they all have to come out on the lawn, and then we're going to restack and put everything away. Hey folks, so I really want to tell you a bit about this airplane here, this blue and purple Waco YPF-6. It's one of a very small number of Waco YPFs ever built, and possibly the only surviving example. There may be a few ZPFs, which are basically a bigger engine version of this airplane. When this airplane was first restored about a decade ago, I remember reading an article about it in a magazine and just fell in love with this airplane. And I swore to myself that someday I would travel to whatever museum it lived in and I would get to see it, or whatever private collection. And to my surprise, when I started volunteering at the WAAAM, I discovered that it was one of the aircraft on display in Hood River, which was very exciting. And I've spent a lot of time admiring this aircraft over the last few years. So you can imagine my excitement and my surprise when I found out back in August that I was going to get the opportunity to fly this very aircraft, which is the next part of this video coming up. So I'm going to stop talking and let you guys enjoy this footage from a sunset formation photo flight with a group of classic Wacos. Hey folks. All right, so I've got a quick story to go along with the footage that's coming up next. So Friday morning when I got to the museum, the flight crew had already towed the museum's 1925 Waco 9 out to the grass runway to go fly it. And being as I was kind of the late arrival to the event because I'd been out of town, I ran down to the end of the runway, grabbed my cameras, and set up to get some footage of the flights of the Waco 9. And it had been suggested earlier in the year that I might get a chance to fly this airplane, but there was no guarantee. I was told I needed to cut a few pounds, seeing as I'm a little bit bigger than the average pilot was in the 1920s, and so I hadn't lost as much as I'd been aiming for. Kind of figured that might rule me out from getting to fly the airplane, so I kind of showed up with no expectation that I was going to get to fly it. Also, I am the newest pilot on the flight crew, or one of the newest pilots on the roster at the museum, so less seniority, kind of assumed, I'll be the last one to go, if at all, and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to get my hopes up. So while I was down there and trying to film this airplane flying, a couple other required chores came up that needed to get handled. So I went and dealt with that and came back, and I got back with just enough time to catch the last landing before the decision was made to ground the airplane for the day. There was a bunch of traffic joining the traffic pattern. The airplane has no electrical system, no radio. It's powered by a World War I surplus OX5, so not the most reliable engine in the world. And I think that was really probably the smartest and safest call. So the airplane went back on static display for the rest of the day. Friday night it went out for a photo shoot, but I was busy flying a different airplane Friday night, so I again wasn't available to fly the airplane then. And Saturday we were busy doing rides at the fly-in in the new standard. Also, there were a couple little squawks that came up on Friday night's flight, so Saturday evening and Sunday morning was spent repairing a cracked water line and a few other things like that. But the airplane got patched up on Sunday, and about a little after noon, the museum's chief pilot came up to me and basically said, "Hey, the winds are starting to pick up. We've probably got about 20 minutes left before the door is going to shut on your window to go fly the Waco 9. So grab a crew and let's tow the airplane out to the runway." And so we towed it out to the end of the runway, and we made a special trip out there just so that I would get to fly the airplane, which was really, really generous of the entire crew. And I got briefings about the OX5 engine and flying an OX5 from the museum founder and from the chief pilot, and what to expect and what it's going to behave like and things like that. What to do if the engine quits, because with the OX5s we kind of joke that it's not really a matter of if it's going to quit, but when it's going to quit. So yeah, I got a quick briefing. The cockpit is super Spartan. It's just a stick, a rudder bar, and a throttle. The mag switch is on and off. There's only one magneto in this airplane. There's no airspeed indicator and no electrical system, so no headset, just sunglasses and go. The airplane has no tail wheel for steering on the ground, just a skid, and no brakes to stop it. So as basic as you can possibly get in an airplane. And it was the closest I've ever felt to flying a kite. It was spectacular. I felt every burble of the wind, and it was a little intimidating, admittedly, because this is one of only 3 flying Waco 9s left in the world, and this is, as far as I'm aware, or from what I understand, the oldest of the 3. So being entrusted with a historic relic that's somewhat significant and fairly precious, and simultaneously a little unreliable, I didn't want to be the guy who had to put it down in a field somewhere and risk hurting this poor airplane. So we did a run-up. I got the nod from the chief pilot and from the head of the maintenance or restoration shop at the museum, and off I went. And it did spit and cough a little bit on my climb out, which definitely got me a little bit anxious, I suppose. Anxious might not be the right word, but it was definitely kept me on my toes. And by the time I turned crosswind, got an updraft, hit pattern altitude, and the airplane just was a delight to fly. Pulled the power back to 1200 RPM, and it just purred like a sewing machine. It was so neat. But at that time, I also looked down and saw that the windsock or the flag was indicating about 20 knots of wind at the airport. And these old airplanes are not inherently known for being particularly well equipped for crosswinds, which is why the old aerodromes all used to be big circles. So I made the decision pretty much to just come right back down and land the airplane. So I only got to fly it for a few minutes, but it was really neat experience. And so this is going to be followed up with some footage of the museum's chief pilot taking it out for its first flight, and then at the very end, a little footage of me flying it. Didn't really have time to set up any cameras, so I just tossed my cell phone to a buddy right before I launched and said, try to get some footage for me. So not the most cinematic footage, but I think it's pretty cool anyway. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I'm gonna stop talking and let the footage roll.
Okay, throttle's closed, brakes are on.
It's primed.
Let me check them. Is it primed?
Yep.
You want to go high?
Yeah, let's go hot.
Okay, it's on.
Contact.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's good a little bit.
Woo.